it's time for choice agreement. The third agreement, don't make assumptions. I only do this about 45 million times a day. Generally negative ones too. So let's dig in and see what he says. We have a tendency to make assumptions about everything. You don't say. The problem with making assumptions is that we believe they are the truth. Oops. But I know everything. Come on, Miguel, I know everything, don't I? We make assumptions about what others are doing or thinking. We take it personally, and then we blame them and react by sending emotional poison with our word. Isn't he nailing it here? And it's interesting, I never realized this before. The last time I read this was long before I studied the Course in Miracles, and it's all about that. It's all about sending attack thoughts because we think we've been attacked and justifying it, when half the time it's never happened, if at all. In fact, that book would say it's never happening, and I'm guessing that's where he's going to go with it too. Illusion, the power of believing illusions, the illusions of our mind, especially the ones that come from fear and lack. We only see what we want to see and hear what we want to hear. I'll bring up my little gnomes here. This is where this comes from. Hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil, right? Don't take it in and don't give it out. We don't perceive things the way they are. We literally dream things up in our imagination. And actually, I just heard this last week. It said, we don't perceive the world the way it is. We perceive it the way we are. It's exactly what he's saying. We literally dream things up in our imagination. But when you realize it's also a bit of a world of imagination, and there's quite a bit of illusion, especially when we're down in the vibrations of fear and lack and grief and despair, it's very logical why this would happen. Because we are afraid to ask for clarification, we make assumptions that we believe are right? We don't ask for clarification or check it. Then we defend our assumptions and try to make others wrong. Making assumptions in our relationships is really asking for problems. Often we make the assumption that our partners know what we think and that we don't have to tell them what we want. We assume they're going to do what we want because they know us so well. If they don't do what we assume they should do, we feel hurt and say, you should have known. Another example, you decide to get married and you make the assumption that your partner sees marriage the same way that you do. Then you live together and you find out this is not true. This creates a lot of conflict, but you still don't try to clarify your feelings about marriage. The husband comes home from work and his wife is mad and he doesn't know why. Maybe it's because his wife made an assumption. Expectation. Expectations are preconceived resentments, as they say. Without telling him what she wants, she makes an assumption that he knows her so well that he knows what she wants, as if he can read her mind. She gets upset because he fails to meet her expectations. Making assumptions in relationships leads to a lot of difficulties, a lot of misunderstandings with the people we love. That's one of the, I think, key marks of a happy, confident person is they can openly express themselves, especially when we're coming from love. We can actually ask for what we need and tell people how we feel without all this fear and mucky stuff in the middle. And as he's saying, that's being impeccable with your word. The way to keep yourself from making assumptions is to ask questions. What a concept. So simple. Make sure the communication is clear. If you don't understand, ask. Have the courage to ask questions until you are as clear as you can be. Once you hear the answer, you will not have to make assumptions because you will know the truth. And how often do we not ask questions? Because out of fear, right? We're coming from fear rather than love and trust. In society, we have agreed that it is not safe to ask questions. We have agreed that if people love us, they should know what we want or how we feel. This is really aggravating. I ran into this the last place I worked too. Nobody would ask me any questions. They were just assuming they knew how I was thinking based off of my behavior. And I'm like, how about we have a conversation where you ask me a question? It would be so clear. When we believe something, we assume we are right about it to the point that we will destroy relationships in order to defend our position. But with clear communication, our word becomes impeccable and all of our relationships start to change. Not only with our partner, but also with everyone else. Often, when you begin a relationship with someone you like, you only see what you want to see, and you deny there are things you don't like about the person. You lie to yourself just to make yourself right and to justify why you like that person. Isn't that funny? I think often when you begin a relationship with someone you like, you only see what you want to see. You deny there are things you don't like about the person, right? Just blinders on, everything's fine. You lie to yourself just to make yourself right and to justify why you like that person. And we don't allow ourselves to see the whole person, right? Nobody's perfect. You shouldn't be putting anybody on a pedestal. Usually when I find someone putting me on a pedestal, I throw myself off rather ungracefully, but I don't necessarily recommend that. But we do have to have our eyes open and be willing to see the whole person. It doesn't make us wrong and it doesn't make them wrong. We all have so much to us. We're complex beings. Then you make assumptions, and one of the assumptions is my love will change this person. I know, ladies, we do that a lot. I always say, if you can't fully accept and love your partner the way they are now, then you shouldn't be with them, because you're not going to change nagging and talking to them all the time. Like, you have to accept who they are now. And if you love them and don't say stuff, you'll be surprised how much they'll grow and change anyway, but you can't go into it with those expectations. But this is not true. Your love will not change anybody. If others change, it's because they want to change, not because you can change them. We can only change ourselves. Let's say one day something happens between you and your partner and you get hurt. Suddenly you see in this person what you didn't want to see before. Only now you have to justify your emotional pain by blaming the other person for your choices, right? They duped you. Real love is accepting other people the way they are without trying to change them. There you go. It's unconditional love. If we try to change them, this means we don't really like them. We need to be honest with ourselves. If you need someone to change to be with them, you don't like them. It's conditional love. If you decide to live with someone, it's always better to make that agreement with someone who is exactly the way you want him or her to be. It is much easier to find someone whom you don't have to change than to try to change someone. The biggest assumption that humans make is that everyone sees life the way we do, or should. I'll add that. We assume that others think the way we think, feel the way we feel, judge the way we judge, and abuse the way we abuse. And this is why we have a fear of being ourselves around others. Saying this in another video, the face I put on with the world, and back here behind a curtain is hiding the real me. Because we think everyone else will judge us, victimize us, abuse us, and blame us as we do ourselves. And this is a key component of the judge not, lest ye be judged, golden rule. Treat others the way you want to be treated, because that's how you are treating yourself. See, when you're judging other people, you're going to be judging yourself that same way. Becoming aware of these habits and understanding the importance of this agreement is the first step. But information or an idea is merely the seed in your mind. What will really make the difference is action. Taking action over and over again will strengthen your will, nurture the seed, and establish a solid foundation for the new habit to grow. After many repetitions, these new agreements will become second nature. Don't make assumptions. By making this one agreement a habit, our lives are transformed completely. What we need comes to us easily because Spirit moves freely through us. Because we don't know. Who does know? It's so much more powerful place to be like, I don't know. And I need to remember that all the time. We don't need to know. When you say, I don't know, it doesn't all have to make sense. It's such a powerful place to stand exactly for this reason, because then Spirit can show us what's really happening. Because when thoughts are, or beliefs are thoughts, we just continue to think, and we think we know how we have it, and our minds are creative, and our beliefs cause the world to continue, law of attraction to continue to prove that we're right to us. We aren't open to what's really happening. We can only be shown what we're assuming to be true, and we'll only be looking to collect data around that to be true. And so even if it's not, we aren't open to seeing the evidence that might show up that might help to change our minds. And that's why it's so powerful to not make assumptions, which is really just having a mind that's open to anything. That's what Wayne Dyer used to say, which was one of his tips of successful people or whatever, which I loved. Habits of successful people is having a mind that's open to anything. Magic happens in our lives. This is the mastery of love, the mastery of gratitude, and the mastery of life. This is the path to personal freedom. Don't make assumptions. All right, so be impeccable with your word. Don't take anything personally. Don't make assumptions, right? Get right on that. Hope you do too.